You're listening to Little Birdie. I'm your host, Nick Heathcote, joined by Jack Dickens and Sammy Todd, adding plenty of class to the lineup. This week's episode has got a fair bit going on. We've got the patron saint of punting on, Richie Irvine, to talk Punters Union. We've got dumpling expert Anthony Jupp talking Searing Steaks. Tedeschi will talk Hall of Fame and talk a bit of rugby league. I hope I did that as good as Jack. And the regulars are on to feed us the grouse around the grounds this week. And Sammy, we're going to kick off with you, I think, this week.
She's had a big week on the tees, punters.
Yeah, all the tees.
Twitter and Tinder.
Yeah, there was a fair bit doing. If you haven't seen her Tinder profile on Twitter, at Sammy Jane Todd is where you can find her. Have you enjoyed yourself this week, Sam?
My inbox has been in meltdown, but it's been a lot of fun and glad to see a lot of people enjoying having a bit of a laugh at themselves and sending in some good profile pictures for me to assess.
Yeah, there would have been a lot of sliding in and just looking at your follow account. It's just absolutely gone through the roof.
Where'd you do more damage? Like, where'd you get more action? Twitter or Tinder?
I plead the fifth.
Oh.
Now, you've obviously had a lot of interaction with the punter at home. I think I want to open the batting here with the three biggest nah-bras. So you've seen something on their profile. So get your pens out if you're a young bloke at home looking to find love.
We're going to talk about foot faults. Fault!
Yeah, nah-bras, right? So
Overstepping the line.
This is things she's seen as she's opened up the message or looked at the profile and she's just immediately gone, nah, brah, not interested in you. Sammy, number 3.
All right. No boring chat. If a guy sends me a hey, he gets deleted.
Oh, straight away.
People
Savage.
open with just a hey.
Yeah, it's pathetic.
That is that's lazy.
Exactly.
That's could
No
be an
imagination.
indication into sort of
No
how they're going to
banter.
operate
Further
horizontally.
Oh, just boring blokes, really.
What can you expect between the sheets if all he's got when he texts you is a hey? That's fair. I agree with that. Number 2, Sam?
Number 2?
I was doing the figures because, I'm into my numbers here, and 54% of people on the app are not actually single. So watch out.
Wow.
What?
Careful
They're getting
what you
wide.
bargain for. Yeah. Did a little Googling.
Bit of operation.
I asked a friend about this, a punter, of course, and he said to me, well, Sam, there's no better way of testing your value than on the open market. So
Yeah, love that. I think going to getting information on life from a punter is not a smart way to operate. They are. It's like the proper punter is a severely sick individual.
Yeah,
they
they're
bet,
not
they
sweet.
drink, they bet, and they bet and they drink and they
welcome
do
to the show,
thing.
everyone.
And number 1, what's the biggest no, bro?
Okay, no one wants a pen pal. So if you can't get in front of them, then you won't be getting anywhere else with them. I say it's a numbers game, but just you've got to get to seeing someone. You can't just chit chat all day.
Okay, so just get to
Make
the
a
point
date.
quicker. Make a date.
Make a
Be a
date.
bit fearless.
Yeah,
Put it all out
You're
there.
better off just putting yourself out there
Absolutely.
sooner rather than later. Get an answer, move on either way.
precisely.
Great information. Now,
There's a lot of levels there.
we're not done, punters. Keep the pens out.
This is what you should do.
3 biggest pros. 3 biggest box
Dudes.
tickers.
What to
Okay.
do?
Dog pics, get chicks. It's true.
That's true. I hijacked my cousin's puppy once and my Facebook page just melted.
Scooty's got no dogs.
100%.
I'm shameless.
My brother walks his housemate's dog, a little Frenchie, around the block for one reason. It's for his neighbour across the road.
Wow.
Smart.
Oh, yeah.
What about number 2? What's the 2?
Oh, banter has to be on. Absolutely. I did actually...
How deep's the banter want to be, though? Just like light banter, gettable banter? You don't want the banter to go straight over their nogs.
Yeah, true, but it's got to be a little bit cheeky. It's got to be a little bit flirty, a little bit fun. I swiped right on a guy who said on his profile he's just here to set up my IKEA furniture. It's like, okay.
Yeah,
Can
a
laugh
little
at
bit.
himself.
You've got to peacock a little bit. You've got to
Yeah.
stand out.
Absolutely.
Noted. Number 1. What's the biggest thing they can do out there?
Well, okay, I think it's a numbers game, as I said before. So men swipe right almost 50% of the time. Women, on the other hand, only 14% of the time. So my advice to guys is just have a go, and the numbers are not in your favour. So
But if you do get a match, then
Absolutely.
chest out, chin up.
exactly, get in the fight,
Go
boys.
for it. Yeah.
Would you So I guess that first landing page sounds like it's crucial that you nail that picture. I'm thinking if you've got a car in your profile pic, that's a no-no.
Not sweet.
I think shirt off, no.
If you're holding a fish, not sweet.
What about,
if you're holding a gun, not sweet. If your pride enjoys the car, not sweet. If you're wearing white sunnies, white belt, white shoes, not sweet. Any kind of tint operation in the hair, again, not sweet.
I did have one of our listeners send in his profile for a little bit of advice, and he is shirtless in all of his pictures. Joel, 22, I'm talking to you.
And what about Cam Dean?
His profile, though, reads a little bit more. Yeah. He's got this banter going. He goes, day 24 of ISO. Plugged my phone charger in and whispered, "You like that?" Oh, can you believe it?
I think that's good chat.
Can you believe it? Yeah.
I'm tipping that.
Swipe right.
He stood out from the bunch.
I did have one other profile as well. It's from an industry professional and a listener of the show. So I know he's a listener of the show because of his outfit in this photo. Won't be sharing it, sorry, boys. They're staying anonymous. But they're in your favourite get-up, Scoot. Bit of lycra.
Well, must be an athlete then. Is that what
it rules out half the blokes I know?
When I asked him about why he's wearing lycra in his Tinder profile, he replies to me that it's really good excuse to get out and bolt early in the morning. To be honest, I'm shocked.
It's a nice angle. I like
that you can get a girl home wearing lycra. Who shows up to a date in lycra?
Well, it's
COVID. Good banter though.
Yeah, time you can be out as if you're exercising. That's actually quite smart, Sammy.
Very smart.
Now, before we finish on the Tinder stuff, I just want to quickly touch upon my man, your man, our man, Cam Dean. Now, his profile picture, I looked at it and I was just flat about it. I was flat.
It was a group of mates.
It's disappointing.
What sort of operator at his level thinks that's sweet to just throw around a picture of 5 blokes? I don't even know which one he was. And
I don't either.
I work with him. If you're operating with a group picture...
I think our followers were bang on here when they suggested it was the cheerleader effect, that getting a group photo makes you look more attractive.
Wow.
So he's half bagging his mates.
No, he's trying to get his mates to drag him up. So, he's a guy who has fun. Yeah. He's got good-looking mates. He might be successful. He's a flash wedding
before you decide whether or not you go ahead with it.
Because you're not only with the partner, you hang out with their mates a lot of the time.
Yeah, I think we need to work on just getting a little bit more flair into Cam's life and Cam's profile.
Sam's here for him.
Thank God.
Be bold.
All right, up next, Scooty, what do we got?
We've got Hall of Fame time. We'll talk top rope. It's Hall of Fame time, and that means Top Rope Tedeschi is back. It's been a big couple of weeks for the Hall of Fame. We've added Rick McIntosh, Shane Ciurleo, and a guest that's going to come up next is probably worthy of Hall of Fame, or after Tedeschi, is Richard Irvine. He created the minimum bet rule, and he's starting a Punters Union. More on that later. But, Nick, how are you, mate?
Oh, I'm up and about. We're on the clock for rugby league, 2 weeks away. The hangover from the ball has subsided. We're just getting to that nice little lull. Golf back next week. I'll tell you what, we're really cranking up for some real punting.
Top rope, my man. Are you a little bit concerned that potentially the anti-vaxxers might be the thing that finally slows down the grandson of Christ PVL?
The anti-vaxxers will be the last thing to be concerned. Any of us need to be concerned about. He can't get out of his own way. Losing Bryce Cartwright to rugby league is one of the great benefits the game will have. I'll tell you what, the standard single-handedly is lifted. If I'm a sports administrator, I'm probably worried a little bit more about the South Australian government than I am than PVL's worried about a bunch of hippie clowns.
Yeah, anti-needle operators who are covered in tattoos. The mind boggles.
It really is tremendous. I love the 1,000 different reasons, and everyone's fallen into line except for Bryce Cartwright, who's clearly very, very scared of his wife.
Yeah, I'm sure she's highly, highly educated in this area. Anyway,
talking Hall of Fame.
Hall of Fame time. What do you got?
Hit us.
Look, this is an idea that I just think is absolute genius, and they're going to get full credit for it. It's the racetracks of Canada. Now, we have gone wide, we have gone loose. Curly last week, we've gone, racetracks in Oklahoma. These guys want to bet on races that have already been run. Could there be a better service for the punter than that? Yeah. Who wants to have a bet on the 1997 Melbourne Cup? Sure. Who wants to go around on the last at Sandown yesterday? Absolutely. So getting this out, just content, getting the races run. Oh, I love it. You're telling me you wouldn't sit down for a day of Grand Annuals with Rick McIntosh, knowing you could have a bet on the 1998 Gallywood.
How do they propose this happens as a wagering thing?
They are going to attempt to, in reality, actually hide the results of the race and attempt to gamify it a little bit. So you won't know what the actual race is before you bet on it, but those with a keen eye will notice that, especially those with a good judge of horse will soon notice that the second from the 2nd of January 1992 at Woodbine is about to go. To find a winner. So.
It's incredible. We can already bet on the Brownlow Medal, and that's a race that's already been run and won, and Cam Dean will be our expert for that. But Top Rope, I don't know how you do it, but I can't wait to get you back in the studio more regular. But Canadian racing and races that have already been won is definitely a curveball from left field.
No, we haven't got to wait too long either for Top Rope. Rugby League's
2 weeks.
Rugby League's on the horizon. It's really, really close, and I'm really, really excited to get some articulate betting information along with some solid chat from our man
So I
Juppy.
guess you're finding a new host. After articulate betting information and a good bloke.
Very elite judge. We're going to take a break, but thanks, Nick.
Thanks, guys.
That was Nick Tedeschi, and up next we've got Richard Irvine talking Punters Union and Anthony Jupp talking Searing Stakes.
Bet rejected? It's time to sack your bookie and bet with a bookmaker you can trust on topsport.com.au.
Welcome back to Little Birdie. I'm your host, Scoot. I've got Sammy and Dicko in here, and it's heating up. It's time to talk wagering, and Richard Irvine, the patron saint of punting, joins us. He's responsible for the minimum bet limit, and now he's forming a Punters Union. Welcome to the show, Richard.
G'day, Nick. How you going? Hey, Sam and Dicko. How are you?
Yeah, we're airborne, but it sounds like you've got to be in your bonnet, or you're starting this Punters Union. Most people will know you from the minimum bet laws. Tell us why you've started the Punters Union.
Mostly because it's always been mooted for quite a long time, doing a Punters Union, and I never really thought we could get an effective one up and running, and it's also it's a lot of time for whoever runs it and a lot of bureaucracy involved in it all, and I just mostly what's been happening with COVID and everyone having these meetings on Zoom, all these world leaders and whatnot, and kind of occurred to me, well, if world leaders can manage business and move things forward via Zoom, maybe that would be a good platform for punters to be able to have their voice heard. And then I sort of boil that down to basically be like, well, what's a realistic and effective way to go forward with that? And my idea at the moment is, having the year of the regulators for 90 minutes once a year, and for 1 month before that, that 90-minute time happens, there would be a sort of a sorting out process of all the issues that the punters are facing, and myself and say 5 or 6 other punters would work out what are most pressing and then take that to the regulators.
So when we sit down with the regulator, what would be the number 1 and number 2 sort of issues that we aimed to take to the regulator?
Well, I think this year, the 2 biggest ones would be deductions and also getting the minimum bet limit overhauled, so it's more fairer really to punters. It's never really been fair to punters from the start, even though we do appreciate that it did come in. So we could do with a lot of tweaking to make it fairer to punters, and also there's a lot of ways that bookies duck and dive to try and avoid the minimum bet limit. So it would be good if some rule changes could come in to stop that happening. So I think that would be, if I can get this thing up and running and we manage to get a clearer set of deductions and uniformity with the deductions across Australia, and then also got a few things changed. Probably the 2 biggest, the biggest one with the minimum bet limit is the 9 a.m. rule. I think generally speaking, most punters want to be able to bet from the time the prices go up. So, look, if we achieve those 2 things, that would be a fantastic way forward.
Well, it's essentially discrimination. If you're offering a product to one person and not to another. If it was based on anything other than ability, it'd be discrimination, and you could charge someone for it. Sammy?
Well,
right.
as a bookie, I'm usually on the sort of other side of the ledger here. I'm really curious what you'd like to get the NBLs increased to, and how would you ensure it's fair and reasonable when you're looking at a potential duopoly in Australia, such as like the TAB taking on the market share of Sportsbet and BetEasy now combined. Would you scale the bet size to the size of the business or turnover for the state, etc.?
I think we need to be a bit realistic with that one. And yes, there's been a lot of market consolidation up the top end, but there's also a lot of smaller bookies coming on board as well. So for the bookies that we've lost at the top end, there's the smaller bookies that are coming on, and the smaller bookies are compelled to bet under the minimum bet limit. So I don't personally see a huge issue with limits. I definitely think that there could be a little bit of tweaking right at the top end. Like, there's no reason why Sportsbet and the Tab and maybe a couple of those big bookies shouldn't be betting to win 3,000 or 4,000 on the metros.
I completely agree. I mean, we're betting the sharpest of them at the race course, and we're just sort of mum and pop sort of shops. And the likes of some of these giants are getting away with betting a lot less. I don't think it's fair to the punters.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I'm giving you everything here that's my opinion. That's why I want to get 5 or 6 other people on board so that we can get a fair and balanced way forward, because it's not about me going to the regulators and telling them what I think. It's about every punter in Australia going to the regulators and saying what they think. Now, of course, we're not going to be able to represent absolutely everybody's individual view, but what we can do is find what the majority view is and then take that to the regulators.
Yeah, and essentially what we're doing is, for the first time in the history of racing, is giving the punter an actual voice at the table and much more of a voice than we've ever had. So it's a positive, it's a step in the right direction.
Yeah, I think you're bang on here, Richard, and I think 90 minutes of the administrator's time with the right sort of union involved sounds more than reasonable and more than fair. Horse racing is funded by wagering and it's funded by the punter, and we've never had that voice. So how does our community help you, and how do punters join the union, or how do we nominate these people? Tell us how to do it.
Basically, at the moment, there's not really much people can do other than can show their enthusiasm for it on my Twitter post, or if they want to, they can write to the regulators themselves. It's very easy to do that. Talk about the idea that I had and sort of, I guess, implore the regulators to give it their full consideration. If we can get all the regulators to agree to it, then I'll put a website together and we'll get a charter going. I'll put a call out to sort of put together a board, for want of a better term. And look, it's open to every punter out there. Everyone's involved. Anyone who hits me up, I'll give them all the time I can to help them. And that's another thing about it. If we can get up, it's just going to run for 1 month a year, because I've got too much on to be worrying about it 12 months of the year. So will everyone else who's involved in it. And I think it's just about going hard for a month, trying to affect change. If we get that change, great. And then we move on and we punt the best we can in the environment for that next 11 months. And then we know that we can have another chat, a year later. I think that's the best way forward.
That sounds fantastic. If you want to grow the game and support Richard, find him at Twitter at RI Racing. That's at Richard Irvine Racing on Twitter. Thanks for joining us, Richard. Good luck with it.
Talk to you soon.
That was Richard Irvine, and now we have Juppy. Welcome to the show.
Juppstar.
G'day, guys. How are you?
Mate, we're fantastic. We love seeing your dumpling work and your Twitter video with Mr. Chens versus Diana Chans. If you haven't seen it, at Little Birdie Pod, we've retweeted it.
Preferred
Juppy's
the version
analysis
with sound was good too, the second one.
Yeah.
Lessons to live by, really.
Now, Juppster, you want to talk reverse searing stakes for the uninitiated. What is it?
Well, basically, this has been a game changer for me in about the last 6 to 8 months. I got a smoker for Christmas, but you can do this whether you've got a smoker or a Weber or a barbecue, or whether you just got an oven in your place. Basically, what you do is try and get the best steak you can afford, get it up to room temperature, salt and pepper both sides, get your oven or your smoker or barbecue to about 75 degrees, put it on the racks for about an hour. Make sure you've got a tray underneath to catch all the juices and whatever else that renders out. Then, once you've had that in there for an hour, whip it out into the frying pan, 2 to 3 minutes each side. And basically, how you tell the doneness of a steak is the ball of muscle at the bottom of your thumb.
Correct.
Squeeze that with your fingers, and that'll tell you how done your steak is. So you will not eat a juicier, nicer piece of steak than if you reverse sear it. It's just about being organised, but it's a complete game changer.
You can't tell he's mates with Ross Brody. This is a contradiction if I've ever seen one from his information on Twitter during the week where he was blowing up the larks about waiting 15 minutes
for some dumplings.
some dumplings. He's now,
he will
this
wait
is an
for a
hour and
steak.
15-minute operation.
I love it.
But
Juppy,
it sounds outstanding.
It is good. I've done it myself. It's very good.
Well, this time of year is all about low and slow now that we're getting into the colder months. So it's just about being organised. The thing is, you can't be organised when you come straight home from work. And I got to wait 15 minutes for dumplings. What an outrage.
You still got to be in a bonnet about that. The only thing I'll pull you up on, Neil Perry and Matt Moran are against putting pepper on the steak before you cook it because it changes the flavour of the steak. So I think salt's a yes. In your cooking process, I'll trust you in. I'll trust your judgment here. But
who was that against, Scoot?
Neil Perry and Matt Moran, they might know a thing about cooking.
Who are they?
Yeah, has-beens. Where are they?
I think they're jogging.
Absolute washed up. Come on.
Okay. Now, Juppy, how did you survive the Warrnambool Carnival? You obviously tuned in. We saw you in the chat room. How did you find Warrnambool this year, the coverage?
The coverage was as good as what it could have been. I had good results over the 2 days. I really enjoyed it. They're going to go back to the old format, I think. But one thing that's just been sort of grinding my gears, and I don't know whether it's come out of New South Wales and it's sort of ventured down here, but we just seem to be too frightened to upset anyone anymore. Like there's no real good opinionists in racing anymore. There's some very talented guys at .com. Like, let's face it, there's hardly any coverage of racing in the newspapers anymore. And the guys that are in there don't want to upset anyone so they don't get cut off from the rest of the industry. But surely there's room in there for someone to come out and say what they think and then let the rest of the industry debate it. Like, there's plenty of issues that we could talk about.
There's thousands. I couldn't agree with this more. It's the only industry, the only elite sport in Australia, the world, where there's no critique at all. If someone like Kane Corns existed in the racing game, he would be a complete and utter outsider leper, and he'd probably disappear. Would you not agree, Jupp?
Well, if he was north of the border, he'd have to hide under the bed for the rest of your life. Like, you just wouldn't have. Like, you'd just have to go into hiding.
You'd sleep with plastic sheets on the bed for sure.
Whereas down here, like, we've got the media resource to do it. There's definitely the talent there. Like, there's plenty of great guys and girls that are working in there at .com, and I just think they just need to be. And Matty Welsh, who I've dealt with in the past, like, he's a good operator. They just need to release the shackles on some of these guys a little bit. And maybe it might even be an angle for the newcomer with SEN Track coming on board. Maybe if they have a couple of people in there that are prepared to sort of stand up and say what they think, it just creates more debate, and then it drives traffic to their
publicity
platforms as well.
Yeah,
so
like if you look at like everyone's talking about the Jordan documentary. It's like a behind the scenes 20 years ago of the greatest athlete probably of all time.
Jack, did you know?
You can't get anything in racing. You can't even get like a conversation about anything that's not comfortable for them to speak about. They retweet fact. They don't cover story.
No.
They don't investigate story and provide opinion. So it creates no interest in the sport. It's just like it's turning into it more and more every year that no one has the guts to speak about it honestly. It turns more and more into a poker machine.
Couldn't agree more.
On it.
And I think the thing about it is we're all grown-ups. Everyone's got to have a little bit of thick skin. If someone comes out and says something that you disagree with, we've just got to get on with it.
Yeah.
Like, have your disagreements and move on. Like, barring people and all this stuff's just, well, it's definitely not how I roll. So I'm not sure why the racing industry has to feel so precious. And also, get out on the front foot. There was a couple of people that I was saying I was on Twitter that I was a bad look with Sir Isaac Newton falling and whatnot. If you actually delve into the statistics, the jumps racing's got a fatality rate of 0.2. Like, it's so low that why isn't the industry coming out a little bit and someone actually having the guts to come back at some of these people and say, here's actually some facts, and this is what we're basing our opinion of it, and that's why we're supporting it.
I think you're onto something. Yeah, there's another operation up in New South Wales that are going through some turmoil at the moment. Racing Rant and Glenn Pollitt and Mark Lambourne are in hot water about comments they've said in a private chat room. Like, some of the comments that were directed to us when we streamed our Little Birdie podcast was unbelievable. We had to get a moderator for the full second day, but God, if they can't speak their mind and give an opinion and joke around with racing,
if the people who run racing in New South Wales think that other people talking about their product is a negative thing, then God help us all.
Yeah, Juppy, let's get it a little bit positive, and let's talk Swan Hill Carnival. How far away are we from it, and what are you looking forward to there? I think we're going to be in ISO still. Yeah,
Swan Hill, up until probably last year, used to be just about my favourite carnival. So it happens on the Queen's birthday weekend each year, and they run Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And it used to be the best catered carnival anywhere in the country. Because it's at that time of year, it's cold. It's always cold up there. They
those
have
little
the soup
cups. Yeah, those little soup cups. They are good.
The soup guy, they've got a guy who makes his own hot dogs that are a bit more like Savoy's. He was still there last year. And there was another dumpling guy there, and then this year they changed it up, but they've just sort of lost it at the previous carnival. But it's still a great carnival, and if anyone else who enjoys Warrnambool hasn't been to Swan Hill, make sure you put that on the bucket list for next year, because the difference between Warrnambool and Swan Hill is Swan Hill's nowhere near as big as Warrnambool, and everyone congregates in the same couple of places.
It's so good. It's a really good time.
Yeah, and it's a lot more inclusive.
On it, to be honest.
It's probably about 15 degrees warmer, and they've got the rivets pies that our man Josh Jenkins and Sop Brody tip up deluxe. But that's a monster tip, and I don't know how I'd go off the back up. I feel like I've been down at the Bull and done 4 or 5 laps myself.
I found Swan Hill tougher to back up at than Warrnambool. I don't know if it was because it was colder or because I was almost killed on the Saturday night and then hit a cow on the way home on the Sunday night, but it was a rough experience, and I haven't been back.
We're going to have to wrap you up and move on. And up next, we've got Pistol Pete and Shane Adair. But thanks for joining us, Jupster. We love your work.
No worries. Good luck, punters.
If you're doing your form for the weekend, head to Punting Form. With 7 years of historic benchmark data and ratings, Punting Form is the #1 choice for horse racing professionals.
Welcome back to Little Birdie. I'm your host, Scoot, Dicko and Sammy. We're talking Tinder. We're talking all things hot. It's Ciurleo's hot in here. And that's the perfect time to talk Pete Anthonisz and Rosehill Racing. Welcome.
Freddie Durst, you there?
Yeah, I've got my cap on backwards as always as well. Like, I love a bit of Fred Durst. It takes me right back to when I was 13, that song.
Yeah, he's got a few demons, Fred, but he's very talented. A little bit like our man Pistol Pete. Now, we're headed to Rosehill Race 9. Which horses are we focusing on, Peter?
I just want to bring up a couple of bad demons, speaking of those that linger in the back of the memory. Prophet's Thumb. Remember that horse, Dicko? Mark Zara was on it last start. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I think if Chris Graham rode it last start at Caulfield, he might have been in a lot of trouble. But that was at Melbourne. It was Mark Zara and his play on. The horse was just unlucky. Had a few weeks off, Prophet's Thumb. Back to Sydney.
Yeah, no real dramas. The Freedmans are sort of just like taking their horses around the country at the moment. It's like a travelling sideshow of just, potential grouseness. And I think this is a potential grouseness. Sammy Clipperton on board, I think, will get us a little bit of a better price. But it was a stop-start, not suited, absolute slaughter job last start. And it finds a field of pretty much nonnies for the most part. They've all had their go over the last couple of starts. I think the main danger is Bilney because it gets to actually get out in front of most of those nonnies and just hack along. But Prophet's Thumb with any clear air, I think, rattles home in a double-figure quote and will probably get a little bit more. I reckon it's a nice little bet to finish the card there at Rosehill.
So the rail's out 3 at Rosehill. You're happy to sort of be off the speed and running on out wide?
I think by the end of the day, it'll probably start to switch around. I think early on you want to be rails and run more on pace, but I think by the end of the day, and with a few of those horses not necessarily being the most genuine conveyances, I think Prophet's Thumb won't have too much drama rattling home and getting them.
If you're just tuning in for the first time, nonnies means non-winner. Sammy, what price are we looking at for Prophet's Thumb?
It's had a slight touch. It's $10 into $9.50. It's gone around a lot shorter in histories in previous starts. So
Also, just to clarify, nonnies has a few meanings.
Yeah.
It also means non-punter or non-better. So some people have a lot of opinions about racing, but they don't actually bet, so their opinions are largely irrelevant.
They wouldn't get a start on this show. Thanks, Pistol Pete. Good luck in Sydney and Perth on Saturday.
No worries, gang.
Now Shane Adair talks Goodwood Group 1 racing in Adelaide.
G'day, guys. Nice to be back on Little Birdie. The Group 1 action continues this weekend as topical titles, The Last Dance here in South Australia for our carnival. So hopefully we can go out with a bang today, guys.
Looks like the Goodwood is action-packed and there's so many stars and depth to this field. We've given you another tricky race. G-Tra, St Anna Lane, Sunlight, who was awful last start, The Inevitable, Behemoth, which was a black booker for me last start. Wow, what a mouth-watering event. Who do you like here?
Well, I actually thought under this set weights and penalties of the Goodwood that there's probably only 4 genuine winning chances. So I think we can pen quite a few of them. Numbers 1 through to 4 are the winning chances in the race. The market's got it spot on. I'm leaning to Santa Ana Lane and Trekking. I think we can put a few dollars on both of them. I think their form out of Sydney is very good and they'll both appreciate getting onto the dry surface here at Morphettville. As you said, G-Tra was excellent first up, beating Sunlight. Sunlight has then come out and put in a shocker after that. So maybe there's a slight question mark at G-Tra's form line and at the 1,200 metres. 7 wins of G-Tra's 8 have been under 1,200 metres.
Good angle.
So it could be a little bit sus maybe at those last 100 metres. Sunlight, as you said, is outstanding value. If it can recreate its best performances, $10 I think I can see on Top Sport this morning. It looks a outstanding bet if it could recapture that form. But as one of Dicko's great mentors, Mark Lambourne, used to say, what's now is real, and what's now for Sunlight is not too crash hot.
No, it was awful last start. I couldn't be with it. Dicko, can you see Sunlight bouncing back off that performance? It was too bad to be true, wasn't it? I don't know.
The biggest shins in racing, he gets them to go, right? It's
Baron Vorster.
It's a switch. It's a reverse golden switch. They're not deep thinkers, the McAvoy camp, in my opinion, and they overthought this and tried to be smarter than they are. It's a race to the finish. Yeah. No, well, seriously, what they did was just stupid. Now it's drawn inside. It's got a dominant SP over, its SP profile's strong here. It grabs me up and just sort of pushes me out of the race. I could even have 2 cents on Birdie, number 14, or you get hundreds on the fair late. It's a tricky race, I thought. The Inevitable's a horse that it's a tiny little thing, but when right, doesn't stop. It's just a scary, scary race.
It could be a race where you play favourite versus the field on topsport.com.au.
Which we need to get better at.
Yeah.
We're often right, but the only time we pulled the trigger was in the Punters Club, and that thing just started... What was it? What was it
blaze.
Called? A blaze, and out the back at the top of the bull there.
Punters Club wasn't a blaze.
It started to really get into its work and build a nice rhythm over the top of those jumps. We're all so scared. It was like slowly getting killed.
Yeah, it was death by a thousand cuts. Shane, what do you like in? You like one in what, race 3 is your best bet on the card?
Yeah, the Will Clarkin stable. We started off the carnival a little bit slow, but has absolutely come back with a bang in the last few weeks. Of course, with Bella winning the Group 1. I think the Clarkin stable can continue on in race 3. Number 10, Fortune Follows. Todd Panel rides. It was a good win last start against a 10 from the McAvoy yard. They put a good gap in them back to third. So Fortune Follows, for me, I thought was the best on the card at Morphettville.
Thank you very much, Shane. Up next, Scooty, what do we got?
Snowy. In the know with the snowman, the birthday boy.
And the Curlstar.
MJ,
as he's now calling himself.
Michael. Sammy, what's on at Top Sport this week?
Well, for both the Queensland and South Australian meetings, we are doing best of the best for all customers to win $10,000 on each race. Head over to topsport.com.au.
Welcome back to Little Birdie. We've got the man who's called himself MJ Michael Jordan. He's going that well last week that he's called himself Michael Jordan. This week he's just announced to us off the air that he doesn't even weed his own garden. He gets quotes to do it.
Shane Ciurleo.
Unbelievable. Shane, how are you?
Yeah, really good. Sorry, thanks, mate. One of the local gardeners is just leaving.
Keeping the town employed.
Good, guys. Doing me absolute best.
I like the model. If you're too busy, just get someone else to do it and focus on form and finding winners.
I've got a 10 square metre garden bed.
Yeah.
I think if you're if it's changing a tyre or the toilet's off, you could do it yourself. A dishwasher, you could do that yourself, but that is a painful experience. Outsource. Keep yourself sweet mentally to punt. But just gardening's meditation. It's just lazy. And it explains largely the rig that we saw when you used to stand up when you got a little bit excited on the bulldozer.
Oh, hang on. Jack, if we're going to start telling secrets off air, Jack announced that he's on a diet. He sacked pizza, he had a pear for dessert, and he's been rig shamed from his antics.
I think I was
on the Bulldozer live stream.
Shamed, and I was also accused of dressing like the way I dress. Like, each their own. You do you.
So I don't think you can just start swinging haymakers at my man Curly. I'm going to go into bat for you, Curls. Speaking of going into bat, who are we going to back?
Sammy, why do you reckon he's going into bat for Curly for sloppy rigs?
Let's get the show on the road.
Brothers in arms.
I quite like my job, so I'm not going to answer that question.
Shane, let's talk Gold Coast.
You can do what you do, you.
Let's straighten up here and let's talk about the GGs. That's what we're here for and the listeners are here for. Gold Coast have got the feature racing this week. Races 6 and 8 are the features. Let's talk through those now, Curls.
Yeah, we'll start with race 6. It's Ken Russell Memorial 1200 Group 3 sort of racing starting to hot up here. I think, there's no spoil here at the price. I don't think it starts much shorter, but it probably wins. Number 1, Wisdom of Water. Resumed from a spell, when winning at the Gold Coast. And it was arrogant in the way it's returned. It was never let off the bridle at any stage. I know some punters took it to win by more than 6 lengths, and they were filthy because Robbie had it in second gear the whole way and only won by 5.5. It'll win again. Pretty disappointing race depth-wise with only the one there's one runner coming up from Sydney, the Safiano, who I think Pistol tipped us into last
Pistol
start.
backed that last start.
At the big price.
Yeah.
So it comes off a 1,400-metre win at Rose Hill back to 1,200. I think it's just here for one more little tune-up run before going to the JJ Atkins next start. So I think at 1,200, Wisdom of Water will be too slick for it.
Race 8, Curls, what are we doing there?
Yeah, look, it's same again. This race is at group level. Heap of speed in this race, and I just want to be on a couple of horses that are going to just settle off a really good tempo. One of them is Hightail, coming up from Sydney. Has made the trek up north before and ran into Alligator Blood in the Magic Million Guineas. It ran well that day. Resumed with a nice win on the Kenzo. Looks well placed here to continue on its winning way. Of the locals, one of my favourites in Queens, one of my favourite horses in Queensland for a few reasons, Command and Conquer, the 8. Love the horse, went undefeated, winning well in all 3 starts before being sold to Hong Kong and getting vetted, failing the vet, and then come back from that little let up to get beat. Thank you very much at the $1.50 because we were against it. When it was just a barrier trial over 900 metres at the Gold Coast last week in tune-up for this. So they're the 2 horses that Matt Best and look to be getting home late, off a good tempo here. So probably leaning to Command and Conquer at this point in time. I just think it's got the X factor and is untapped.
Anything else out wide for the punters at home this weekend, Curls?
I just got the good news half an hour ago that we have 11 races at Gatton on Saturday. with the first race at 10:30. So I haven't had a chance to get through that card in depth, but it's I cannot wait to sort of set the alarm early and get ripping into that card on Saturday morning at 10:30 a.m.
If you want to see more of Shane's work, it's www.themailbag.com.au, and you can subscribe to his tips and just see his work on Twitter. He loves singing a tune after a big day on the punt. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, guys. I'm off to book a PT for next week. Cheers.
Bye. See you, mate.
Little Birdie is brought to us all by topsport.com.au, Sam. What are some of the smarts doing this weekend aiming at Saturday?
All right, well, heading over to Adelaide to start, we've got race 2. It's a stakes race over 1,200 metres. Number 2, Extra Time, is getting the early action here from $11 into $8, and it's currently on the 5th line of betting as the favourite drifts. Race 5 at Adelaide, it's the Fillies Classic, where it's the second favourite, Realm of Flowers, that's been backed almost into favouritism, going off at $4.40 into $3.90 now.
Which is a very popular horse.
The pin-up horse for the Bulldozer.
One of the pin-up horses, and particularly for our man Scooty from marketing move over ScoMo. Scooty declared this thing. He absolutely declared it. It was his moment, the bulldozer.
He's one and only. So over the Goodwood, it was a very strong betting race. There's been plenty of action happening there. To the Gold Coast, the Guineas, it's Baroda from the Edmonds stable that has been spec'd from $18 into $13. Rose Hill money for the favourite in the Dennis Joyce Stakes.
Which is race what?
Race number 7.
Yep.
Lastly, there's been a huge go at Flemington in race number 7 for number 4, Rupture. Punters declare the Paul Prishka gelding unbeatable after 3 straight wins, taking the $2.70 all the way down to $2.15.
Rupture was enormous last start. It was not suited by the way the track played all day. It was a big performance. Not surprised it's been very well found, but it's a very, very scary race.
Let's get the word from the Caulfield Hut with the birthday boy. Happy birthday in the know with Snow.
Clickety clacky's back. Had a week off last week.
How are you, champion?
Not too bad. I'm not normally one to give you a rap, Jack, but thanks for sending the birthday message yesterday. There was 2 people, won't mention names, but forgot to send a text, so that's been duly noted.
Oh, how rude.
I've had a bit on Snowy.
Oh, I've had a bit on Snowy, yeah. Just remember that, Snow, right? When you come on and you think about champing me and winding me up, aim that little bit of hatred at those 2, okay?
I loved that, by the way.
It was a good job last week, Jack. Class prevailed. You won the wine. That was never a doubt.
And the case,
wine's
actually,
delivered too.
The wine's in the studio and the case in the back of the car, so...
She pays quickly. I love that. Good
happily.
bookie.
Respectfully.
Quickly.
Now, Snowy, we'll save the tan chat for after Flemington, but it's got 9 of the best at headquarters there. What's the whispers and the words from your men at Caulfield? Give us the oil.
Well, the little man out of the hut, like Kennywell, he's getting around like 6'6" this week, a bit like how I get around. But he's got his $1.7 million purchase in Adelaide, race 2, number 4, and he has tipped that. But, geez, you'd hope it'd be winning, wouldn't you? $1.7 million purchase.
Yeah, I thought so. Yeah.
Yeah, you'd want to... I fear for it. I think there's enough pressure on his, as you said, little shoulders. I wouldn't be then going spruiking the horse. Let's let it win.
What price is the Lloyd Kennywell runner there? How do you say it? Kasukio. It sounds Japanese.
They've backed the first starter from $8 into $7, so a
nice
little
bit
bit
of value there, perhaps.
Snowy, what else have you heard from the hut?
And, well, there's one from the Leeds camp tomorrow, Scone Cup. Leeds won it last year and he targets this day, and he has Chief Ironside, race 7, number 3. Went horrendous first up, but its record is very good second up. It's had 3 starts, 2 wins and a third. And it has been trained specifically for the race, and this one has been supported early.
Yeah, it's 20s into 12 with Top Sport.
What have you done, Snowy? How much have you had on?
This horse was given a real quiet time first up in Australia at Caulfield last prep, and then won really, really well on, I think, Cox Plate Day. The day Liz Crochet won, who won one of the lead-up races. And it was a good race at 1. So this looks extremely tasty to me. I'm going to deep dive a little bit further, but this looks an outstanding bet.
So, Snowy, give us an update on COVID life. Are you still walking the tan? And Sammy's just done a segment on Tinder that you're not privy to, but what's on your Tinder profile, your homepage? It sounds important because only 14% get swiped right from girls, where guys swipe 50% right. What's your cover picture? Describe it.
I think my cover picture might be at the races, actually. Suited up at the races, but must be working because I haven't had many matches of late.
you might have fit the girl the fish out of the pond. There might be nothing left.
I did like how you found your best angle, which was you facing away from the camera.
Oh, nasty. All right, so maybe the Little Birdie podcast present to Snowy is an hour one-on-one training with Sammy Jane Todd to get Snowy a date. And if there's anyone out there listening, direct message us at Little Birdie Pod or send me a line, and we need to get this guy rolling for his birthday out of COVID. Thanks for joining us, Snowy.
Be prepared, boys. I reckon the phones will go off the hook here.
We're going to keep the snowman on the line because we're going to quickly talk Flemington headquarters.
I have got a quick little best bet, Joe, Jack. The best of the weekend was Flemington race 6, number 2, King of Leogrants. The word was after its track work on Tuesday, it will win, and pretty much the M word got described for this one, a moral.
Morale.
Into the Melbourne Cup. The O'Brien camp, they are flying. So that was probably my best one for the weekend.
Okay, and I'll give 2 plays out for Flemington on Saturday. Horse which was scratched at the barriers was half supported early, Sammy. I thought it wasn't like a big go, but it was kept pretty safe. Was race 3, number 13, Sensation. John McNeil rides for the Mick Price yard. This horse has good form around the right horses. It actually, on debut, ran second to a horse which is $9 or $10 in this race. Or it might have been second up, but Charlize in the Geelong race, which has proven to be a really hot form race. I think put the rider on the wall. It's ready to run well. 29 days between runs doesn't worry me because it was ready to go, just scratched at the gates. I think it's big odds, $17, something like that.
16, so that's
$16.
right. Yeah.
I think that's very, very generous. Perfect play each way. Drawn barrier 1, John McNeil, you get perfect chance to horse get every opportunity. Then we're going to head to race 9, Snowy, where we've got a very interesting race. Final man loses Ollie, gets Stockdale. This horse doesn't run poorly. Outstanding little horse. But Ollie jumps onto a horse, B Hunter. Now, we backed B Hunter last start. I think we might have even tipped it on the show. And Mick D got very, very lost. Very, very lost out the back of the surf, and he flashed home to run second. Oliver goes on, drawn barrier 2. This is a severe upgrade in rider. This horse will get every possible from barrier 2, and I want to be with it again. It is favourite, and I think it will start favourite. The other horse in the race that I don't want to lose on is number 11, Defiant Dancer. It's 5th up now, be perfect, rock hard fit. Drawn barrier 6, I think, Sammy, top of my head. I think it's going to get a really nice run, and the form behind it's pretty strong. Big odds. What price are we getting?
$21.
Yeah, so big result, B Hunter. Not going to be losing Defiant Dancer. And if the market starts to go against either Final Man or Broadway in 4th, I'd be with either as a save.
We'll let you out the hook there, Snowy. Thanks for joining us, and good luck.
See you on the golf course, my man.
We're overdue for a hit. When are we having a hit, John?
Monday.
Well, Monday, probably.
There won't be any cash on, though. Too rusty. Can't wait for it.
Big show, Scooty. Big show.
Yeah, I thought Sammy was nearly best on ground with the Tinder chat. There's a lot of pearls to be taken away from there. And, Juppy came in with a lot of steam. Fresh off the dumplings, he's just given a few people a roast, and he's just taught us all how to cook steak.
Well, I thought he was spot on in every bit he added to the show. I thought the show was bouncy.
Yeah,
I thought the SJ Todd is starting to blossom. And I look forward to a little bit more information next week as to a little bit deeper dive into sort of Tinder and...
Oh, goodness. Well, not too much. But thanks for listening to the show. Thanks for joining us for some good chats. And if you're interested in getting some more, head to littlebirdie.pod.com.